As the gentle morning mist rises from the ancient fields near Lebanon, we begin tonight a peaceful journey into one of the most extraordinary archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. China's legendary Terracotta Army, where over 8,000 life-sized clay warriors stand in eternal silence, guarding secrets that have slumbered beneath the earth for more than 2 millennia. Let your mind drift into the quiet reverence of this underground realm, where patient craftsmen from a distant age created an army so realistic that each soldier bears a unique face, as individual as the living men who inspired their creation. Close your eyes and feel the profound stillness of these silent guardians, whose patient vigil connects us across the vast expanse of time to the remarkable civilization that built the world's first unified empire. Picture yourself standing on a tranquil spring morning in 1974, in the peaceful countryside of Lintong County, where farmer Yang Zhifa and his neighbors gather around a partially dug well, their simple quest for water about to unlock one of history's greatest treasures. The fragments of reddish pottery and strange clay shapes emerging from the earth seem unremarkable at first. Perhaps broken roof tiles or ordinary ceramic vessels discarded by some long-forgotten household. Yet as more soil is carefully removed, the curved edge of what appears to be a human ear emerges from the dark earth, followed by the suggestion of a nose, then the unmistakable contours of a human face sculpted in fired clay with stunning realism. This accidental discovery on March 29, 1974, would soon reveal itself as the entrance to an underground world of breathtaking scope and beauty. A vast necropolis containing thousands of terracotta soldiers arranged in precise military formation, each warrior individually crafted with meticulous attention to detail that reflects the extraordinary artistic achievements of ancient China's first imperial dynasty. The farmers who made this momentous discovery could never have imagined that their search for groundwater would instead unearth guardians who had been waiting patiently in the darkness for over 2,000 years to tell their story to the modern world. The Terracotta Army belongs to Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor, who unified the warring states into a single empire in 221 BCE and commissioned this extraordinary funerary complex to protect him in the afterlife. The scale of his vision defies comprehension, a necropolis covering nearly 98 square kilometers, larger than many modern cities, containing not just the famous army of warriors but an entire underground universe designed to recreate the emperor's earthly realm in the world beyond death. This vast burial complex represents one of humanity's most ambitious attempts to bridge the gap between mortality and eternity through art, engineering, and unwavering dedication to spiritual beliefs. The discovery that no historical records mention this underground army made the revelation even more astonishing. Unlike other famous monuments of the ancient world, the Terracotta Army had been completely forgotten by history, its existence erased from collective memory until Yang Zhifa's shovel struck that first fragment of pottery. For over 2 millennia, these silent warriors had stood guard in absolute darkness, their secrets so well kept that even the detailed historical chronicles of ancient China contained no hint of their existence. The artistic achievement represented by these terracotta figures challenges our understanding of ancient Chinese capabilities and reveals a level of craftsmanship that seems almost impossible for its time. Each warrior possesses individual facial features, distinctive expressions, and unique details of armor, clothing, and hairstyles that reflect their specific military rank and regional origin. The sculptors who created these masterpieces worked with such skill that modern visitors often mistake the figures for living people frozen in time, their realistic proportions and lifelike poses creating an uncanny sense of encountering actual ancient soldiers rather than clay sculptures. The military organization displayed throughout the excavated pits demonstrates sophisticated understanding of ancient Chinese warfare and social hierarchy. Infantry soldiers stand in precise formations alongside archers, cavalrymen, and commanding officers, each positioned according to their role in battle and their place within the complex social structure of the Qin dynasty. The attention to authentic military detail extends to their weapons. Bronze swords, crossbows, spears, and daggers that were functional instruments of war rather than ceremonial objects, many still sharp enough to cut paper after more than 2,000 years underground. The construction of this underground army required the coordinated efforts of over 700,000 workers laboring for nearly 4 decades. The logistics of managing such a massive project, organizing craftsmen, coordinating the production of thousands of individual figures, and ensuring consistent quality across the entire army, reveal administrative capabilities that rival any ancient civilization. The workers included soldiers, artisans, farmers, and prisoners, all contributing their skills to create something that transcended individual achievement to become a collective masterpiece of human creativity and spiritual devotion. The peaceful atmosphere that pervades the excavated pits today belies the tremendous energy and dedication that once filled these spaces during the army's creation. The careful arrangement of each figure, the precise spacing between rows, and the thoughtful positioning of different military units create a sense of order and purpose that reflects the harmony ancient Chinese philosophy sought to achieve between earthly existence and cosmic forces. Standing among these silent warriors, visitors often report feeling a profound sense of connection to the anonymous craftsmen whose patient work created beauty designed to last for eternity. The preservation of the Terracotta Army represents one of history's most successful examples of accidental conservation. The careful burial of the figures, followed by the natural accumulation of soil over centuries, created ideal conditions for preserving not only the clay sculptures themselves but also traces of the brilliant colors that once decorated their surfaces. Recent discoveries have revealed that these warriors were originally painted in vibrant hues, reds, blues, greens, and golds that would have created a spectacular visual display when the underground chambers were first illuminated by torchlight. The mystery surrounding Emperor Qin Shi Huang's actual tomb, which remains unopened at the center of this vast complex, adds another layer of intrigue to the Terracotta Army story. Ancient historical accounts describe the emperor's burial chamber as containing flowing rivers of mercury, precious jewels arranged to represent the constellations, and elaborate mechanical devices designed to protect the tomb from intruders. Modern scientific instruments have detected unusually high levels of mercury in the soil above the burial chamber, suggesting that these ancient descriptions may be more than mere legend. The ongoing excavation of the Terracotta Army site continues to yield new discoveries that refine our understanding of ancient Chinese civilization and artistic achievement. Only a fraction of the estimated total number of figures has been uncovered so far, with ground-penetrating radar revealing additional chambers and corridors that promise decades of future discoveries. Each new warrior brought to light adds another piece to the puzzle of how this remarkable underground world was conceived, created, and ultimately forgotten by history until its accidental rediscovery. The international recognition of the Terracotta Army as one of the world's most significant archaeological sites has transformed this quiet corner of rural China into a destination for millions of visitors who come to witness firsthand the artistic achievements of ancient craftsmen. The careful balance between scholarly research, conservation efforts, and public access ensures that future generations will be able to experience the same sense of wonder that has captivated visitors since the Army's discovery, while protecting these irreplaceable artifacts for continued study and appreciation. The cultural impact of the Terracotta Army extends far beyond archaeology to influence contemporary understanding of ancient Chinese civilization and the universal human desire to create lasting legacies. These silent warriors serve as ambassadors for a culture that achieved remarkable sophistication in art, engineering, and social organization while maintaining deep spiritual connections to beliefs about death, afterlife, and the continuing influence of departed rulers on earthly affairs. Thus we begin our exploration of this remarkable archaeological treasure. We embark on a journey through one of humanity's most ambitious artistic projects, a testament to the power of human creativity, spiritual belief, and collective effort to create something that transcends individual mortality. The Terracotta Army reminds us that the desire to preserve memory, honor achievement, and connect with forces beyond ordinary existence represents one of the most enduring aspects of human nature across all cultures and historical periods. The gentle silence that surrounds these ancient warriors today invites contemplation of the timeless questions that motivated their creation. How we remember those who came before us, what legacies we choose to leave for future generations, and how art and craftsmanship can serve as bridges between the temporal world of daily life and the eternal realm of spiritual significance. In studying the Terracotta Army, we discover not just the story of ancient China but reflections of our own deepest aspirations for meaning, beauty, and lasting connection to the forces that govern human existence. As the gentle spring breeze carries the scent of blooming peach blossoms across the fertile fields of Lintong County, we step tonight into one of history's most serendipitous moments, the accidental discovery that transformed a simple search for water into the revelation of China's greatest archaeological treasure. Let your mind drift back to March 29, 1974, when farmer Yang Zhifa and his neighbors gathered around their half-dug well, unknowing that their modest quest to irrigate their crops would instead unearth guardians who had waited patiently in darkness for over 2,000 years. Close your eyes and feel the quiet excitement of discovery unfolding, as ordinary people encountered extraordinary secrets that would change our understanding of ancient China forever. Picture yourself standing in the peaceful countryside near Lebanon, where the morning mist rises gently from fields that have sustained farming families for countless generations. The landscape appears unremarkable, rolling hills dotted with persimmon trees, wheat fields stretching toward distant mountains, and the timeless rhythm of agricultural life continuing as it has for millennia. Yet beneath this tranquil surface lay hidden one of humanity's most ambitious artistic projects, a secret so well preserved that not even Chinese historical records contained any hint of its existence. Yang Zhifa, a soft-spoken farmer whose family had worked this land for generations, began digging the well with his 5 brothers and neighbor Wang Puji during the severe drought that had plagued the region for months. Their tools were simple: shovels, picks, and the patient determination of people who understood that water meant survival for their crops and families. As they dug deeper into the reddish soil that characterizes this part of Shaanxi province, they expected to encounter nothing more unusual than rocks, tree roots, or perhaps fragments of old pottery from previous settlements. The first signs that something extraordinary lay buried beneath their feet came as broken pieces of reddish ceramic, fragments that seemed oddly shaped and more carefully crafted than typical roof tiles or storage vessels. As Yang Zhifa carefully lifted each piece from the earth, he noticed details that puzzled him. Curved surfaces that suggested human forms, fragments bearing what appeared to be decorative patterns, and pieces of clay that had been fired with techniques more sophisticated than anything produced by local potters. Watch as the excavation deepens and more fragments emerge, a piece that clearly resembles a human ear, another that unmistakably forms part of a nose, and then the revelation that stops. All work, the emergence of an entire human face, sculpted in clay with such realism that it seems to gaze upward from its earthen tomb with the dignity of a living person. The farmers stare in amazement at this ceramic head, its features so individual and lifelike that they feel as though they have awakened someone who has been sleeping for ages beyond memory. The local authorities, initially skeptical about reports of clay people found in a farmer's well, soon recognized the significance of Yang Zhifa's discovery when archaeologist Zhao Kongmin examined the fragments and immediately understood their historical importance. This was not ordinary pottery but sophisticated terracotta sculpture of a quality and age that suggested imperial patronage from China's ancient past. The careful documentation and protection of the site began immediately, transforming Yang Zhifa's simple well into the epicenter of one of the 20th century's greatest archaeological investigations. The revelation that these terracotta figures had been completely forgotten by history added profound mystery to their discovery. Unlike other famous monuments of ancient China, the Great Wall, the Forbidden City, or the Temple of Heaven, which had been continuously known and documented throughout Chinese civilization, the Terracotta Army existed in no historical records whatsoever. For over 2,200 years, these silent warriors had stood guard in absolute secrecy, their existence erased so completely from collective memory that their rediscovery surprised even China's most learned historians and archaeologists. The systematic excavation that began in the summer of 1974 gradually revealed the staggering scope of what Yang Zhifa had accidentally uncovered. Each day brought new discoveries as archaeologists carefully removed centuries of accumulated soil to expose row after row of life-sized terracotta soldiers, each individually crafted with unique facial features, expressions, and military regalia. The precision of their arrangement in military formation and the extraordinary quality of their execution made clear that this was not a collection of ordinary funeral goods, but a masterwork of imperial art commissioned by someone of supreme power and ambition. The identity of this patron became clear as excavation revealed artifacts bearing inscriptions that identified the site as part of the vast necropolis of Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor, who had unified the warring states into a single empire in 221 BCE. This revelation transformed the discovery from a remarkable archaeological find into a window into one of history's most pivotal figures. The emperor who had created the template for Chinese imperial government that would endure for over 2 millennia, and who had commissioned massive construction projects including the Great Wall and an elaborate tomb complex designed to mirror his earthly empire in the afterlife. The scale of the emperor's vision became apparent as excavation expanded beyond the original well site to reveal not just hundreds but thousands of terracotta figures arranged in 3 main pits covering an area larger than many modern city blocks. Pit 1, the largest excavation area, contained over 6,000 warriors arranged in precise military formation with infantry, archers, and chariots positioned according to ancient Chinese battle tactics. The discovery of Pit 2 revealed a more complex arrangement suggesting a military camp or strategic reserve, while Pit 3 appeared to function as a command headquarters with fewer but more elaborately equipped figures. The craftsmanship evident in each individual warrior reflected artistic and technical achievements that challenged assumptions about ancient Chinese manufacturing capabilities. Rather than mass-produced identical figures, each soldier possessed unique facial features, hairstyles, and expressions that suggested the sculptors had worked from life models, creating portraits of actual people rather than generic representations. The attention to detail extended to accurate depictions of military ranks, regional armor styles, and even individual personality traits expressed through subtle variations in posture and facial expression. Recent research has revealed that the production methods used to create these thousands of unique warriors anticipated manufacturing techniques not formally developed until modern times. The workshops operated according to principles similar to Toyota's famous production system, with specialized teams creating standardized components, heads, torsos, arms, and legs that were then assembled and individualized to create unique finished figures. This approach enabled the efficient production of thousands of warriors while maintaining the individual character that makes each figure distinctive. The organization required to coordinate this massive project reveals administrative capabilities that rival any ancient civilization. Over 700,000 workers labored for nearly 4 decades to complete the emperor's tomb complex, including soldiers, craftsmen, farmers, and prisoners who contributed their skills to create something that transcended individual achievement to become a collective masterpiece. The logistics of managing such a workforce, providing food, materials, tools, and oversight, demonstrates governmental sophistication that enabled projects of unprecedented scale and complexity. The discovery of mass graves containing the remains of workers who died during construction provides sobering evidence of the human cost of the emperor's ambitious vision. Yet the extraordinary quality of their work suggests that many participants were skilled artisans rather than unwilling slaves. craftsmen who took pride in their contributions to a project they understood would outlast their own lifetimes. The inscriptions found on various components reveal that workshops were required to mark their work for quality control, creating a system of accountability that ensured consistent excellence across the entire project. The military organization displayed throughout the excavated areas demonstrates sophisticated understanding of ancient Chinese warfare and reflects the actual structure of the armies that had enabled Qin Shi Huang to conquer the other warring states. Infantry soldiers equipped with bronze weapons stand in formations that mirror real battle tactics, while archers, cavalry, and commanding officers are positioned according to their roles in ancient military hierarchies. The functional bronze weapons found throughout the site, swords, crossbows, spears, and halberds, were actual military equipment rather than ceremonial objects, many still sharp enough to cut paper after more than 2 millennia underground. The preservation of these weapons and the terracotta figures themselves results from the careful burial and environmental conditions that protected them from decay for over 2,200 years. The original bright colors that decorated the warriors, reds, blues, greens, and golds, have largely faded due to exposure to modern air, but traces remain to suggest the spectacular visual impact these painted armies would have created when they were first illuminated by torchlight in their underground chambers. The international recognition that followed the Terracotta Army's discovery transformed both archaeological understanding of ancient China and the economic development of the region. Around 11. The designation of the site as a UNESCO World Heritage location ensured protection and funding for continued research while creating opportunities for millions of visitors to experience these remarkable achievements firsthand. The museum complex built over the excavation sites enables scholarly investigation to continue while providing educational facilities that help contemporary audiences understand the historical significance of Yang Zhifa's accidental discovery. The impact of finding the Terracotta Army extended far beyond archaeology to influence contemporary Chinese cultural identity and international perceptions of Chinese civilization. These silent warriors became ambassadors for a culture that had achieved remarkable sophistication in art, engineering, and social organization over 2 millennia ago, challenging Western assumptions about ancient Eastern civilizations while inspiring renewed appreciation for the depth and continuity of Chinese cultural achievement. The ongoing excavation of the site continues to yield new discoveries that refine understanding of ancient Chinese funeral practices, artistic traditions, and imperial administration. Recent findings include additional types of terracotta figures, musicians, acrobats, and government officials, suggesting that the emperor's underground realm was designed to recreate not just military power but the full complexity of his earthly court. Ground-penetrating radar reveals that vast portions of the necropolis remain unexcavated, promising decades of future discoveries that will continue expanding knowledge of this remarkable civilization. As we contemplate Yang Zhifa's accidental discovery, we witness the power of serendipity to transform human understanding and connect us across vast expanses of time to the achievements of our ancestors. The farmer who was simply seeking water for his crops instead opened a window into one of history's most ambitious artistic projects, reminding us that extraordinary discoveries often emerge from the most ordinary circumstances when curiosity encounters careful attention to unexpected details. The gentle patience of archaeological investigation that followed the initial discovery demonstrates how modern science can honor ancient achievements while revealing their secrets for contemporary appreciation. The careful excavation techniques, detailed documentation, and thoughtful preservation efforts ensure that the Terracotta Army will continue teaching future generations about the remarkable capabilities and spiritual vision of the craftsmen who created China's silent guardians over 2,000 years ago. As the gentle evening light fades over the ancient capital of Xianyang, we step tonight into the remarkable life of one of history's most transformative figures, Qin Shi Huang, the visionary ruler who unified China's warring states into a single empire and commissioned the underground army that would guard his eternal rest. Let your mind drift back to the tumultuous 3rd century BCE, when a young prince named Yang Zhifa ascended to power in the small kingdom of Qin and embarked on a peaceful conquest that would create the template for Chinese civilization for over 2 millennia. Close your eyes and feel the quiet determination of a leader whose ambitious dreams of unity, order, and lasting legacy shaped not only ancient China but the entire course of human history. Picture yourself in the rolling hills of western China around 260 BCE, where the infant who would become China's first emperor draws his first breath in the royal palace of Qin. Born Yang Zhifa during an era when 7 major kingdoms battled endlessly for supremacy, this child enters a world fragmented by centuries of warfare, where different states spoke varying dialects, used incompatible currencies, and followed conflicting legal systems that made unity seem impossible. Yet from his earliest years, Yang Zhifa would be shaped by advisors and philosophers who envisioned something unprecedented, a unified China governed by consistent laws and shared cultural values. The Kingdom of Qin, located in what is now Shaanxi province, had already distinguished itself through progressive reforms that emphasized merit over birth, efficient administration over aristocratic privilege, and practical achievement over ceremonial tradition. The legalist philosophy that guided Qin governance taught that strong laws, consistently enforced, could create social harmony more effectively than the Confucian emphasis on ritual and moral example that characterized the Eastern kingdoms. This practical approach to government would prove crucial in Yang Zhifa's later success in unifying the fractured Chinese world. Watch as the 13-year-old prince ascends to the throne of Qin in 246 BCE, inheriting not just royal power but the accumulated wisdom of his predecessors who had spent generations building military strength and administrative efficiency. The regency period that governed his early reign provided time for education and preparation that would prove invaluable in his later achievements. His tutors included some of the era's most brilliant strategic thinkers, including the legendary Li Si, whose theories of centralized government and standardized administration would become the foundation for imperial Chinese governance. The young king's personality combined visionary ambition with practical wisdom that enabled him to see beyond the endless warfare that had characterized the warring states period for centuries. Where his contemporaries saw inevitable conflict between irreconcilable differences, Zheng envisioned the possibility of creating unity through shared institutions, common standards, and inclusive governance that could transcend regional loyalties. His dream was not conquest for its own sake, but the creation of lasting peace through political integration. The military campaigns that began around 230 BCE represented not brutal conquest but methodical integration of neighboring kingdoms through a combination of diplomatic persuasion, economic incentives, and, when necessary, decisive military action. The Qin armies were disciplined and well-organized forces that sought to minimize civilian casualties while achieving strategic objectives efficiently. The conquest of Han, Zhao, Wei, Chu, Yang, and Qi kingdoms between 230 and 221 BCE demonstrated military excellence combined with generous treatment of defeated populations and incorporation of useful administrative practices from each conquered territory. The proclamation of unified empire in 221 BCE marked one of history's most significant political transformations, as King Jing took the unprecedented title Qin Shi Huang, first emperor of Qin, establishing both his precedence and the expectation that successors would continue his dynasty for 10,000 generations. This moment represented not just military victory but the birth of a new form of government that would influence Chinese civilization for over 2 millennia and establish principles of centralized administration that continue to shape Chinese governance today. The administrative reforms implemented throughout the newly unified empire demonstrated remarkable vision and practical wisdom that created lasting institutions while respecting local traditions where possible. The standardization of currency, weights, measures, and written characters eliminated barriers to trade and communication that had fragmented China for centuries. The construction of roads, canals, and communication networks created infrastructure that connected distant provinces while enabling rapid deployment of military forces to maintain order and respond to external threats. The Great Wall Project, often misunderstood as a single massive construction, actually involved connecting and extending existing fortifications built by earlier kingdoms into a coordinated defensive system that protected agricultural communities from nomadic raiders while establishing clear boundaries between settled and nomadic territories. The wall represented not paranoid isolation but practical border management that enabled peaceful development of Chinese civilization while maintaining diplomatic and trade relationships with neighboring peoples. The legal reforms that established consistent laws throughout the empire created predictable governance that enabled commerce, protected property rights, and ensured that justice was administered according to written codes rather than arbitrary aristocratic privilege. The meritocratic principles that guided appointment to government positions opened administrative careers to talented individuals regardless of birth while maintaining the expertise and continuity necessary for effective governance of such a vast territory. The cultural policies that encouraged shared identity while tolerating regional diversity demonstrated sophisticated understanding of how to create unity without destroying valuable local traditions. The standardization of written Chinese created a common medium for official communication while allowing spoken dialects to continue flourishing. The promotion of shared festivals, ceremonies, and cultural practices fostered imperial identity while incorporating the best elements of each regional tradition into a richer composite culture. the emperor's personal interests in scholarship, technology, and artistic achievement created court environments that attracted the era's most brilliant minds and skilled craftsmen. His patronage of philosophers, historians, engineers, and artists fostered innovation and cultural development that would influence Chinese civilization for centuries. The imperial libraries, workshops, and schools established during his reign preserved and transmitted knowledge while encouraging creative adaptation that kept Chinese culture dynamic and responsive to changing circumstances. The spiritual beliefs that motivated the emperor's massive tomb project reflect sophisticated understanding of death as transition rather than termination, requiring careful preparation to ensure successful continuation in the afterlife. The decision to create an underground army of terracotta warriors demonstrated both respect for traditional beliefs about posthumous needs and innovative artistic vision that pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible in funeral preparation. This project represented not vanity but genuine concern for fulfilling responsibilities to ancestors and descendants. The management of the tomb construction reveals administrative capabilities that enabled coordination of hundreds of thousands of workers over nearly 4 decades while maintaining other governmental responsibilities throughout a vast empire. The logistics of organizing craftsmen, acquiring materials, coordinating different workshops, and ensuring quality control across such a massive project demonstrate the sophisticated bureaucratic systems that made Qin governance effective on unprecedented scales. The emperor's daily life combined ceremonial obligations with practical administration, as he reviewed reports from distant provinces, made decisions about military deployments, adjudicated legal disputes, and supervised construction projects while maintaining the ritual responsibilities that legitimized imperial authority. The balance between accessible leadership and necessary dignity required careful attention to protocol that made efficient governance possible while preserving respect for institutions that transcended individual personalities. The administrative reforms implemented throughout the newly unified empire demonstrated remarkable vision and practical wisdom that created lasting institutions while respecting local traditions where possible. The standardization of currency, weights, measures, and written characters eliminated barriers to trade and communication that had fragmented China for centuries. The construction of roads, canals, and communication networks created infrastructure that connected distant provinces while enabling rapid deployment of military forces to maintain order and respond to external threats. The Great Wall Project, often misunderstood as a single massive construction, actually involved connecting and extending existing fortifications built by earlier kingdoms into a coordinated defensive system that protected agricultural communities from nomadic raiders while establishing clear boundaries between settled and nomadic territories. The wall represented not paranoid isolation but practical border management that enabled peaceful development of Chinese civilization while maintaining diplomatic and trade relationships with neighboring peoples. The legal reforms that established consistent laws throughout the empire created predictable governance that enabled commerce, protected property rights, and ensured that justice was administered according to written codes rather than arbitrary aristocratic privilege. The meritocratic principles that guided appointment to government positions opened administrative careers to talented individuals regardless of birth, while maintaining the expertise and continuity necessary for effective governance of such a vast territory. The cultural policies that encouraged shared identity while tolerating regional diversity demonstrated sophisticated understanding of how to create unity without destroying valuable local traditions. The standardization of written Chinese created a common medium for official communication, while allowing spoken dialects to continue flourishing. The promotion of shared festivals, ceremonies, and cultural practices fostered imperial identity while incorporating the best elements of each regional tradition into a richer composite culture. The emperor's personal interests in scholarship, technology, and artistic achievement created court environments that attracted the era's most brilliant minds and skilled craftsmen. His patronage of philosophers, historians, engineers, and artists fostered innovation and cultural development that would influence Chinese civilization for centuries. The imperial libraries, workshops, and schools established during his reign preserved and transmitted knowledge while encouraging creative adaptation that kept Chinese culture dynamic and responsive to changing circumstances. The spiritual beliefs that motivated the emperor's massive tomb project reflect sophisticated understanding of death as transition rather than termination, requiring careful preparation to ensure successful continuation in the afterlife. The decision to create an underground army of terracotta warriors demonstrated both respect for traditional beliefs about posthumous needs and innovative artistic vision that pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible in funeral preparation. This project represented not vanity but genuine concern for fulfilling responsibilities to ancestors and descendants. The management of the tomb construction reveals administrative capabilities that enabled coordination of hundreds of thousands of workers over nearly 4 decades while maintaining other governmental responsibilities throughout a vast empire. The logistics of organizing craftsmen, acquiring materials, coordinating different workshops, and ensuring quality control across such a massive project demonstrate the sophisticated bureaucratic systems that made Qin governance effective on unprecedented scales. The emperor's daily life combined ceremonial obligations with practical administration, as he reviewed reports from distant provinces, made decisions about military deployments, adjudicated legal disputes, and supervised construction projects while maintaining the ritual responsibilities that legitimized imperial authority. The balance between accessible leadership and necessary dignity required careful attention to protocol that made efficient governance possible while preserving respect for institutions that transcended individual personalities. As the gentle morning light filters through the ancient workshops of Qin dynasty craftsmen, we step tonight into the patient world of master artisans whose extraordinary skills transformed humble clay into an immortal army of unprecedented realism and beauty. Let your mind drift into the quiet rhythm of these remarkable workshops, where thousands of skilled hands worked with meditative precision to create over 8,000 individual warriors, each bearing a unique face, distinctive personality, and personal story carved in fired clay. Close your eyes and feel the peaceful dedication of craftsmen who understood that their patient work would outlast empires, creating a legacy of artistic achievement that continues to inspire wonder over 2 millennia after their tools fell silent. Picture yourself standing in the vast imperial workshops that stretched across the countryside near ancient Xianyang, where the morning air carries the earthy scent of wet clay and the gentle sounds of hundreds of artisans beginning their daily work. These were not ordinary pottery workshops but sophisticated manufacturing centers that operated according to principles of organization and quality control that anticipated modern production methods by over 2,000 years. The scale of the operation required to create the Terracotta Army, over 8,000 life-sized figures produced over nearly 4 decades, demanded innovations in planning, coordination, and artistic technique that challenged every assumption about ancient Chinese manufacturing capabilities. The master craftsmen who supervised these workshops represented the pinnacle of ancient Chinese artistic achievement. Skilled sculptors whose understanding of human anatomy, military equipment, and cultural symbolism enabled them to create figures so realistic that modern visitors often mistake them for living people frozen in time. These artists had trained for decades to master techniques of clay preparation, sculptural modeling, firing processes, and decorative painting that combined practical engineering knowledge with profound artistic vision. Their workshops functioned as both factories and art schools, where experienced masters transmitted essential knowledge to apprentices while maintaining the consistent quality necessary for such an ambitious imperial project. The clay itself was carefully selected and prepared according to recipes that had been perfected through generations of ceramic tradition. The artisans mixed local clay with precise proportions of sand and organic materials that would provide the strength and workability necessary for large-scale sculpture while ensuring consistent firing characteristics across thousands of individual pieces. The preparation process involved patient kneading, aging, and testing that could take months before clay was deemed suitable for creating imperial funeral goods of such importance and permanence. Watch as skilled craftsmen begin the complex process of creating individual warriors. Starting with standardized components that could be efficiently produced in large quantities while maintaining the flexibility necessary for creating unique finished figures. The torsos, legs, arms, and heads were initially created using modular approaches that anticipated modern assembly line techniques, with specialized teams focusing on particular components that were then combined and individualized to create distinctive warriors. This systematic approach enabled the efficient production of thousands of figures while ensuring that no two were exactly alike. The creation of each warrior's head represented the most challenging and artistic aspect of the entire process, requiring sculptors to work from life models to capture the individual characteristics that would make each figure unique. Recent analysis suggests that the craftsmen studied actual soldiers, court officials, and people from various regions of the empire to create the diverse facial features, expressions, and ethnic characteristics visible throughout the army. The attention to anatomical accuracy, the precise modeling of ear shapes, nostril configurations, and facial muscle patterns reveals scientific observation skills that enabled artistic achievement of unprecedented realism. The regional diversity displayed across the Terracotta Army reflects the multicultural nature of the Qin Empire and demonstrates the craftsmen's sophisticated understanding of human physical variation. Warriors display facial features characteristic of different Chinese ethnic groups and regional populations, suggesting that sculptors deliberately created an army that represented the full diversity of the emperor's subjects. This inclusive approach to representation reveals cultural values that celebrated diversity within unity, honoring the various peoples who had been brought together under imperial rule. The ranking system displayed throughout the army required craftsmen to understand complex military hierarchies and translate these social distinctions into accurate visual representations. Infantry soldiers, archers, cavalry officers, and commanding generals each wear appropriate armor, carry suitable weapons, and display the posture and bearing appropriate to their military rank. The accuracy of these details demonstrates that the workshop supervisors possessed intimate knowledge of military organization and social protocols that enabled them to create figures that would have been immediately recognizable to contemporary viewers as authentic representations of imperial military forces. The armor and clothing details carved and molded onto each figure represent masterworks of technical precision that required understanding of metalworking, textile production, and fashion, traditions that characterized different military units and social classes. The scales of armor are individually modeled with three-dimensional accuracy, while fabric textures are rendered with such realism that modern viewers can identify specific weaving patterns and clothing construction techniques. The time and skill required to create these details on thousands of individual figures demonstrates dedication to excellence that transcended mere functional requirements to achieve true artistic mastery. The hairstyle variations visible throughout the army provide fascinating glimpses into ancient Chinese fashion and social customs while demonstrating the sculptor's attention to cultural authenticity. Different military ranks and regional origins are indicated through distinctive hair arrangements, from simple battlefield styles appropriate for common soldiers to elaborate ceremonial configurations worn by high-ranking officers. The accuracy of these details suggests that craftsmen consulted with military advisors and court officials to ensure cultural and historical authenticity in every aspect of their work. The workshop organization required to coordinate such a massive project reveals administrative capabilities that rivaled any aspect of imperial government. Different teams specialized in particular components or processes: clay preparation specialists, sculptural modelers, firing technicians, and painting artists, while quality control supervisors ensured consistent standards across all production facilities. The logistics of managing raw materials, coordinating workflows, and maintaining schedules that could deliver thousands of finished figures over multiple decades required planning and management skills that anticipated modern industrial organization. The firing process for such large ceramic figures presented technical challenges that pushed ancient Chinese pottery traditions to their limits. The kilns required to accommodate life-sized sculptures had to maintain consistent temperatures for extended periods while preventing cracking, warping, or other defects that could ruin months of sculptural work. The fuel requirements alone, tons of wood needed to fire thousands of large ceramic pieces, required coordination with forestry operations and transportation networks that supplied the workshops with necessary materials from distant regions of the empire. The painting process that originally decorated these warriors in brilliant colors represents another dimension of artistic achievement that modern conservation efforts are slowly revealing. Recent discoveries have shown traces of red, blue, green, yellow, and purple pigments that would have created spectacular visual effects when the completed army was first illuminated by torchlight in the underground chambers. The artists who applied these colors worked with mineral and organic pigments prepared according to carefully guarded recipes that ensured color stability and visual impact appropriate for imperial funeral goods. The individual personality traits visible in warrior faces suggest that sculptors possessed sophisticated understanding of human psychology and emotional expression that enabled them to create figures with distinctive character and apparent inner life. Some warriors appear stern and determined, others seem thoughtful or even melancholy, while certain figures display subtle expressions that suggest humor, curiosity, or quiet confidence. These psychological nuances required artistic sensitivity that transformed functional funeral goods into compelling portraits of individual humanity. The weapons carried by terracotta warriors were actual functional military equipment rather than ceramic replicas, demonstrating the integration of different craft traditions in creating the complete army. Bronze swords, crossbows, spears, and halberds were manufactured by specialized metalworkers according to the highest military standards of the era, with many weapons remaining sharp enough to cut paper after more than 2,200 years underground. The coordination between ceramic workshops and weapons manufacturers required logistics that ensured proper matching of figures with appropriate military equipment. The horse sculptures that accompany cavalry units and pull terracotta chariots represent achievements in animal anatomy and artistic observation that rival the human figures in technical excellence and realistic detail. The artists who created these ceramic horses studied living animals to capture accurate proportions, muscle definition, and characteristic poses that brought dynamic energy to static clay sculptures. The tack and harness details are modeled with the same precision applied to human armor and clothing, creating complete military units that appear ready for battle. The workshop inscriptions found on various components provide rare glimpses into the organization and quality control systems that govern production. Individual craftsmen and workshop supervisors were required to mark their work for identification purposes, creating accountability systems that ensured consistent quality while enabling recognition of particularly skilled artisans. These inscriptions reveal names of master craftsmen whose artistic achievements have now gained individual recognition after centuries of anonymity. The training systems that enabled workshops to maintain consistent quality across decades of production probably involved apprenticeship programs that transmitted essential skills from master craftsmen to younger generations. The complexity of techniques required to create successful large-scale ceramic sculpture could only be learned through years of hands-on experience under expert supervision. This knowledge transmission ensured continuity of expertise while allowing for innovation and individual artistic expression within established technical standards. The economic impact of the Terracotta Army project on surrounding communities must have been enormous, as hundreds of workshops required thousands of workers whose wages supported entire villages and regions. The demand for clay, fuel, pigments, and other materials created economic networks that connected distant regions of the empire while providing employment opportunities for people with various skill levels. This economic activity demonstrated how imperial projects could generate prosperity while creating lasting cultural achievements. The preservation of these workshop techniques in later Chinese ceramic traditions ensures that the innovations pioneered during Terracotta Army production continued influencing Chinese artistic development for centuries after the Qin dynasty's collapse. The technical knowledge developed for creating large-scale ceramic sculpture provided foundations for later achievements in Chinese pottery, sculpture, and architectural ceramics that became renowned throughout the world for their technical excellence and artistic beauty. As we contemplate the patient work of these ancient master craftsmen, we witness the power of human creativity and technical skill to create beauty that transcends individual lifetimes and political circumstances. The anonymous artisans whose careful work produced China's silent guardians demonstrate that the highest achievements often emerge from dedicated communities of skilled workers, whose collaborative efforts create something greater than any individual contribution while preserving their collective achievement for the appreciation and inspiration of future generations. The gentle rhythm of ancient workshops continues to inspire contemporary craftsmen and artists who recognize in these terracotta warriors evidence that patience, skill, and dedication to excellence represent timeless values that enable human communities to create lasting beauty and meaning through the humble but transformative work of skilled hands guided by artistic vision and cultural purpose. As the gentle evening shadows lengthen across the silent ranks of China's terracotta guardians, we step tonight into the fascinating world of ancient Chinese military organization, where each clay warrior stands in precise formation according to sophisticated battle tactics that enabled Qin Shi Huang to unite the warring states into a single empire. Let your mind drift into the peaceful order of these underground chambers, where over 8,000 ceramic soldiers display the careful hierarchy, specialized equipment, and strategic positioning that characterized the most effective military force of its age. Close your eyes and feel the quiet discipline of an army organized not for aggression but for eternal protection, their bronze weapons and distinctive armor telling stories of ancient warfare transformed into art through the patient vision of imperial craftsmen. Picture yourself walking through the excavated corridors of Pit 1, where morning light illuminates the most spectacular display of ancient military organization ever discovered, with over 6,000 terracotta warriors arranged in battle formation that mirrors the actual combat tactics used by Qin armies to achieve their historic conquests. The precision of their arrangement creates an impression of frozen motion, as though a living army had been transformed into clay at the moment of advancing into battle, their individual faces displaying the calm determination that characterized soldiers who had never known defeat in their service to the first emperor. The vanguard formation that faces eastward toward the entrance of the main pit reflects authentic Chinese military doctrine, with 3 rows of crossbow archers providing long range firepower while infantry units equipped with spears, swords, and shields prepare to engage enemy forces at close quarters. This arrangement demonstrates sophisticated understanding of combined arms tactics that enabled Qin forces to coordinate different types of weapons and military specializations into unified battlefield strategies that proved decisive against the armies of rival kingdoms. The commanding officers who stand among the ranked infantry display distinctive features that identify their roles in the military hierarchy through carefully observed details of armor, weapons, and bearing. Generals wear elaborate robes and distinctive headgear that mark their elevated status, while their positions within the formation indicate their responsibilities for tactical coordination and strategic decision-making. The realistic portrayal of these command relationships provides unprecedented insights into how ancient Chinese armies maintained discipline and effective leadership during extended military campaigns. Watch as your eyes move across the ranks of infantry soldiers, each equipped with bronze weapons that were functional military equipment rather than ceremonial replicas. The swords discovered throughout the excavations remained sharp enough to cut paper after more than 2 millennia underground, testament to the metallurgical expertise that enabled Qin smiths to create weapons of exceptional quality and durability. The standardization of weapon designs across the entire army reflects manufacturing capabilities that anticipated modern industrial production methods while maintaining the individual craftsmanship that characterized ancient metalworking traditions. The crossbow technology displayed by archer units represents one of ancient China's most significant contributions to military innovation, with bronze trigger mechanisms that enabled more accurate and powerful projectile weapons than simple bows could provide. The terracotta archers stand in realistic firing positions that demonstrate proper crossbow technique, while their equipment includes bronze bolts and accessories that show how these sophisticated weapons were deployed in actual combat situations. This mechanical advantage helped Qin armies achieve victories against numerically superior enemies who lacked equivalent military technology. The armor variations visible throughout the terracotta ranks provide detailed documentation of ancient Chinese protective equipment that evolved through centuries of warfare into highly effective defensive systems. Infantry soldiers wear lamellar armor constructed from overlapping bronze or leather plates that provided flexibility for movement while protecting vital organs from enemy weapons. The accurate modeling of these armor systems on ceramic figures demonstrates craftsmen's intimate knowledge of military equipment and their commitment to creating authentic, rather than merely decorative representations. The cavalry units positioned in Pit 2 reveal the integration of mounted warfare into Chinese military doctrine, with terracotta horses and riders that display the equipment and tactics used by Qin cavalry forces to provide reconnaissance, rapid deployment, and battlefield mobility. The horse sculptures demonstrate remarkable understanding of equine anatomy and movement, while the mounted warriors wear appropriate armor and carry weapons suited to fighting from horseback. The coordination between infantry and cavalry formations reflects sophisticated military planning that enabled complex battlefield maneuvers. The chariot warfare components found throughout the excavations represent continuing traditions from earlier periods of Chinese military history, when horse-drawn vehicles provided command platforms and psychological impact on ancient battlefields. The terracotta chariots are pulled by teams of ceramic horses and carry bronze weapons including crossbows, spears, and ceremonial standards that identified unit affiliations and command responsibilities. These vehicles demonstrate how traditional military technologies were integrated with newer innovations to create comprehensive combat capabilities. The tactical formations displayed throughout the underground army reflect actual battle strategies that enabled Qin forces to achieve their historic conquests through superior organization rather than mere numerical advantage. The arrangement of different military units demonstrates understanding of how archers, infantry, cavalry, and chariots could support each other in coordinated attacks while maintaining defensive flexibility to respond to changing battlefield conditions. This integration of various combat capabilities created military effectiveness that proved decisive against armies that relied on single tactical approaches. The regional diversity visible among the terracotta warriors suggests that the Qin army incorporated soldiers and military traditions from throughout the unified empire, creating fighting forces that combined the best tactical innovations from different kingdoms into more effective composite military systems. Warriors display ethnic characteristics and equipment styles that reflect their origins in various regions of ancient China, while their integration into unified formations demonstrates how military organization served to create imperial identity that transcended local loyalties. The logistics capabilities implied by such large-scale military organization reveal administrative systems that could coordinate supply lines, reinforcement schedules, and equipment maintenance across vast distances and extended time periods. The standardization of weapons, armor, and equipment visible throughout the Terracotta Army reflects manufacturing and distribution networks that enabled consistent military effectiveness across the entire empire while maintaining the specialized equipment appropriate for different tactical roles and environmental conditions. The training requirements necessary to achieve such disciplined formations would have demanded educational systems that transmitted military knowledge, tactical principles, and leadership skills across generations of professional soldiers. The realistic portrayal of proper military bearing and equipment use visible in terracotta figures suggests that Qin armies achieved high levels of professional competence through systematic instruction rather than relying solely on individual courage or natural fighting ability. The communication systems required to coordinate complex military operations involving thousands of soldiers in multiple tactical formations probably involved standardized signals, command procedures, and reporting structures that enabled effective battlefield control even in the confusion of active combat. The positioning of command figures throughout the terracotta formations provides insights into how ancient Chinese armies maintained tactical coordination during extended military engagements. The seasonal considerations that influenced ancient Chinese military campaigns required armies to adapt their equipment, tactics, and logistics to changing environmental conditions throughout extended conflicts. The variety of armor and clothing styles visible among terracotta warriors suggests that Qin military planners understood the importance of appropriate equipment for different climatic conditions and seasonal warfare requirements that characterized campaigns across diverse geographical regions. The maintenance and repair capabilities that enabled ancient armies to maintain combat effectiveness during extended campaigns required specialized craftsmen and supply systems that could restore damaged equipment and replace worn weapons while military operations continued. The quality of bronze weapons found with terracotta warriors suggests that Qin armies possessed metallurgical expertise and manufacturing capabilities that enabled field maintenance of complex military equipment. The psychological aspects of military organization that enabled Qin armies to maintain morale and fighting effectiveness during extended campaigns probably involved ceremonial practices, reward systems, and unit traditions that created group cohesion and individual motivation to achieve collective military objectives. The dignified bearing and confident expressions visible on many terracotta warriors suggest military cultures that emphasized honor, duty, and shared purpose rather than relying solely on coercive discipline. The integration of civil and military administration that characterized Qin governance required military leaders who possessed educational backgrounds and administrative capabilities that enabled them to serve both combat and governmental functions as the empire expanded into newly conquered territories. The sophisticated bearing and equipment of high-ranking terracotta officers suggests military leadership that combined professional martial skills with broader governmental competencies. The defensive strategies that enabled Qin armies to protect conquered territories while continuing expansion operations required military organization that could adapt to both offensive and defensive missions according to changing strategic requirements. The variety of tactical formations and equipment types visible throughout the Terracotta Army demonstrates military flexibility that enabled effective responses to different types of threats and operational challenges. The transition from active military service to eternal guardianship represented by the Terracotta Army demonstrates how ancient Chinese military values emphasized continuing loyalty and service that transcended individual mortality to protect imperial institutions and cultural achievements. The transformation of living military organization into artistic representation created lasting testimony to professional values that characterized the armies that created Chinese unity and established governmental institutions that endured for over 2 millennia. The influence of Qin military innovations on later Chinese martial traditions ensured that tactical principles, organizational methods, and equipment designs pioneered during the unification period continued shaping Chinese military development throughout subsequent dynasties. The detailed documentation provided by terracotta warrior equipment and formations enables modern scholars to understand military traditions that influenced Chinese civilization for centuries after the original Qin dynasty collapsed. As we contemplate this silent army arranged in eternal formation, we witness the transformation of military might into artistic achievement, where the disciplined organization that once conquered kingdoms now serves to protect cultural heritage and inspire appreciation for human capabilities in creating both effective institutions and lasting beauty. The terracotta warriors remind us that true strength often lies not in the capacity for destruction but in the ability to create order, protect valuable achievements, and maintain the peace that enables civilization to flourish. The gentle precision of their eternal formation continues to teach lessons about cooperation, discipline, and shared purpose that transcend their original military context to offer insights into how human communities can organize themselves effectively to achieve collective goals while honoring individual contributions and maintaining the harmony necessary for lasting success and cultural achievement. As the gentle moonlight filters through the ancient burial chambers where China's terracotta guardians stand in eternal vigil, we step tonight into the profound spiritual world that motivated the creation of this underground army, a realm where earthly power was believed to continue beyond death and where loyal protection was needed for an emperor's journey into the mysteries of the afterlife. Let your mind drift into the peaceful understanding of ancient Chinese beliefs about death as transformation rather than ending, where careful preparation could ensure safe passage to celestial realms where earthly achievements would be honored and imperial authority would endure forever. Close your eyes and feel the quiet reverence of a civilization that viewed death not as termination but as transition to another form of existence requiring the same loyal service and protective vigilance that had sustained the emperor's earthly reign. Picture yourself in the serene atmosphere of ancient Chinese spiritual contemplation, where philosophers and court advisors gathered in moonlit gardens to discuss the eternal questions that had captivated human thought since the beginning of consciousness. What happens to the soul after death? Whether earthly relationships continue in spiritual realms, and how the living can best prepare for the inevitable journey that awaits all mortal beings. The beliefs that motivated the creation of the Terracotta Army emerged from this deep philosophical tradition, combined with practical political concerns about maintaining imperial authority even beyond the grave. The ancient Chinese understanding of death reflected sophisticated spiritual concepts that recognized multiple aspects of human existence continuing in different forms after physical life ended. Traditional beliefs held that each person possessed multiple souls, some that remained earthbound to be honored through ancestral rituals, and others that ascended to celestial realms where they would be judged according to their earthly conduct and assigned appropriate positions in the cosmic hierarchy. For an emperor who had achieved supreme earthly power, the afterlife represented not retirement from responsibility but continuation of imperial duties on a cosmic scale. The spiritual geography that governed Chinese afterlife beliefs created detailed maps of posthumous realms where departed souls would encounter bureaucratic structures, territorial boundaries, and political hierarchies that mirrored earthly institutions while operating according to divine principles of justice and cosmic order. The emperor's position in these spiritual realms would depend not only on his earthly achievements but on his ability to demonstrate continuing authority through the loyalty of subjects who chose to accompany him into death and the protective power of military forces that could guard against spiritual threats. Watch as the profound implications of these beliefs shaped imperial funeral preparations, transforming the emperor's tomb complex into a complete replica of earthly government designed to function effectively in spiritual dimensions. The Terracotta Army represented not mere decoration or symbolic gesture, but a functional military force equipped with real weapons and organized according to actual battle tactics that could provide genuine protection against whatever dangers the emperor might encounter during his eternal journey. The transition from human sacrifice to terracotta substitutes reflected both spiritual wisdom and evolving moral sensibilities that sought to fulfill religious obligations while reducing the human cost of imperial funeral ceremonies. Earlier Chinese dynasties had practiced xuanzang, the burial of living people alongside deceased rulers, with archaeological evidence revealing hundreds of skeletons in royal tombs from the Shang dynasty period. The decision to create ceramic warriors instead of sacrificing actual soldiers demonstrated innovative thinking that honored spiritual requirements while preserving human life. Yet this transition was not complete, as historical records reveal that thousands of people were still buried alive with Qin Shi Huang to serve him in the afterlife. The emperor's concubines who had not borne children were executed and interred in the tomb complex, while the craftsmen who had built the underground chambers were sealed inside to prevent them from revealing the secrets of the tomb's treasures and protective mechanisms. These practices reflected beliefs that certain types of service required living souls rather than artistic representations. The spiritual architecture of the emperor's mausoleum created a complete universe designed to support imperial existence in the afterlife, with different sections serving specific functions that replicated the complexity of earthly government. The central tomb chamber, still unopened after more than 2 millennia, reportedly contains flowing rivers of mercury representing the great waterways of China, mechanical devices that recreate the movements of celestial bodies, and countless treasures that would provide material support for continuing imperial activities in spiritual realms. The protective measures built into the tomb complex reveal beliefs about spiritual dangers that could threaten posthumous security and the need for both mechanical and magical defenses against supernatural enemies. Ancient accounts describe automatic crossbows designed to kill intruders, poison gases that would eliminate grave robbers, and elaborate booby traps that would preserve the emperor's eternal rest from disturbance by the living or the dead. These defensive systems reflected understanding that death did not end conflict but merely transformed its nature and required new forms of vigilance and protection. The astronomical alignments incorporated throughout the burial complex demonstrate beliefs that connected earthly imperial authority to cosmic forces governing seasonal cycles, celestial movements, and the fundamental harmonies that maintained universal order. The emperor's afterlife would involve responsibilities for maintaining these cosmic relationships, requiring astronomical knowledge and ceremonial capabilities that linked human governance to divine principles governing natural phenomena and spiritual realms. The inclusion of entertainers, acrobats, and court musicians among the terracotta figures reveals beliefs that afterlife existence would include pleasures and cultural activities that made eternal existence meaningful and enjoyable rather than merely functional. The emperor's posthumous court would require artistic performances, ceremonial music, and recreational activities that demonstrated continuing imperial dignity while providing appropriate entertainment for a ruler whose earthly reign had been characterized by cultural patronage and artistic achievement. The regional diversity represented among the terracotta warriors reflects beliefs that the emperor's afterlife authority would extend across the same multicultural territories he had unified. During his earthly reign, requiring military forces that could represent and protect all the various peoples who had been brought together under imperial rule. This inclusive approach to posthumous protection demonstrated political vision that transcended death while honoring the diversity that characterized the unified Chinese empire. The quest for physical immortality that had characterized Qin Shi Huang's later years reveals spiritual beliefs that viewed death as potentially avoidable through magical practices, alchemical experimentation, and spiritual disciplines that could enable exceptional individuals to transcend ordinary mortality. The emperor had consumed elixirs containing mercury and jade, climbed sacred mountains seeking divine wisdom, and sent expeditions to mythical islands where immortal sages supposedly possessed secrets of eternal life. The elaborate tomb preparations represented backup plans for achieving continuing existence through different means if physical immortality proved unattainable. The integration of Daoist, Confucian, and folk religious elements in the tomb's spiritual program demonstrates sophisticated theological thinking that drew upon multiple philosophical traditions to create comprehensive approaches to afterlife preparation. Daoist concepts of harmony between human activities and natural forces, Confucian emphasis on maintaining proper relationships and social order, and folk beliefs about ancestor veneration and spiritual protection combined to create funeral practices that addressed all aspects of posthumous existence. The ongoing mystery surrounding the emperor's actual burial chamber reflects ancient beliefs about the importance of maintaining spiritual privacy and protecting sacred spaces from contamination by inappropriate contact with the living world. The decision to keep the central tomb sealed may have been motivated by concerns that premature opening could disrupt the emperor's spiritual journey or release forces that could endanger both the deceased ruler and contemporary society. The influence of these afterlife beliefs on later Chinese funeral practices ensured that concepts pioneered in the Terracotta Army project continued shaping approaches to death and burial throughout subsequent dynasties. The integration of artistic representation with spiritual function, the emphasis on providing complete material support for posthumous existence, and the understanding of death as transformation rather than termination became fundamental aspects of Chinese cultural approaches to mortality and remembrance. The international fascination with the Terracotta Army reflects universal human concerns about death, legacy, and the desire to create lasting monuments that can bridge the gap between temporal existence and eternal memory. The emperor's spiritual vision resonates across cultural boundaries because it addresses fundamental questions about meaning, purpose, and continuation that characterize human consciousness regardless of specific religious or philosophical traditions. The conservation challenges involved in preserving these spiritual monuments require understanding that goes beyond mere archaeological technique to encompass respect for the sacred beliefs that motivated their creation. Modern scholars and museum professionals work to honor both scientific investigation and spiritual significance while enabling contemporary audiences to appreciate the profound faith and careful preparation that characterized ancient Chinese approaches to death and afterlife. The peaceful atmosphere that pervades the excavated army pits today reflects the spiritual calm that was intended to characterize the emperor's eternal rest, where loyal guardians would maintain vigilant protection without the conflicts and anxieties that had marked his earthly reign. The silent warriors embody ideals of perfect loyalty, unwavering dedication, and patient service that transcend the limitations of mortal existence while demonstrating humanity's capacity to create beauty and meaning that outlast individual lifetimes. As we contemplate these ancient beliefs about death and spiritual continuation, we witness universal human aspirations for meaning, protection, and lasting connection to forces greater than individual existence. The Terracotta Army serves as a bridge between ancient spiritual wisdom and contemporary understanding, reminding us that questions about death, legacy, and eternal significance continue to motivate human creativity and inspire our deepest artistic achievements. The gentle presence of these ceramic guardians continues to provide comfort and inspiration for millions of visitors who find in their patient vigil reflections of their own hopes for protection, meaning, and continuing connection to loved ones beyond the boundaries of temporal existence, demonstrating that spiritual vision and artistic dedication can create monuments that speak across the vast expanses of time to touch the eternal aspects of human consciousness. As the gentle moonlight bathes the mysterious mound of Mount Li in silvery radiance, we arrive tonight at the heart of one of archaeology's greatest unsolved mysteries, the sealed tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, which has remained unopened for over 2 millennia while guarding secrets that may never be revealed to human eyes. Let your mind drift into the profound silence that surrounds this ancient resting place, where beneath a carefully constructed earthen pyramid lies a burial chamber so extraordinary that ancient historians described it as a complete underground universe designed to mirror the emperor's earthly realm in eternal perfection. Close your eyes and feel the quiet reverence that has protected this sacred space for over 2,000 years, as we explore the tantalizing mysteries that continue to slumber beneath the earth, waiting in patient darkness. Picture yourself standing on the peaceful slopes of Mount Li as dawn breaks over the rolling hills of Shaanxi province, where the artificial mound that conceals China's first emperor rises 76 meters above the surrounding countryside like a gentle giant watching over the fertile valleys below. This carefully constructed burial mound, built by the same 700,000 workers who created the Terracotta Army, represents only the visible portion of a vast underground necropolis that extends far beneath the surface in chambers and corridors that have never been disturbed by human presence since the emperor's burial in 210 BCE. The ancient accounts that describe the tomb's contents read like passages from a dream, filled with wonders that challenge the imagination while providing tantalizing glimpses into the extraordinary vision that motivated its creation. Sima Qian, the great Chinese historian writing a century after the emperor's death, recorded descriptions passed down through oral tradition that speak of flowing rivers of mercury representing the great waterways of China, mechanical devices that recreate the movements of sun, moon, and stars across artificial skies, and countless treasures arranged to provide everything the emperor might need for governing his eternal empire. The mercury rivers that reportedly flow through the tomb's main chamber represent one of the most intriguing aspects of these ancient accounts, describing liquid metal channels that mirror the courses of the Yangtze and Yellow rivers while creating a three-dimensional map of the emperor's earthly domain within his underground realm. Modern scientific instruments have detected unusually high levels of mercury in the soil above the burial chamber, providing compelling evidence that these ancient descriptions may be more than mere legend, suggesting that the tomb really does contain the liquid metal features that ancient accounts describe. Watch as contemporary researchers use ground-penetrating radar and other non-invasive technologies to peer through layers of earth and stone, gradually revealing the outline of chambers and corridors that extend deep beneath Mount Lee in configurations that match the ancient descriptions of an underground palace complex designed to replicate the emperor's earthly court. These sophisticated instruments can detect differences in soil density, identify hollow spaces, and map underground structures without disturbing the tomb's sealed environment, enabling modern archaeology to study the site while respecting the decision to keep it closed. The defensive mechanisms described in ancient accounts reflect the emperor's determination to protect his eternal rest from disturbance by grave robbers or other intruders who might seek to plunder the treasures buried with him. Historical sources describe automatic crossbows positioned to fire upon anyone who enters the tomb without authorization, poison gases that would eliminate unauthorized visitors, and elaborate booby traps designed to collapse tunnels or chambers if the burial seal was broken by those who had no right to enter this sacred space. The astronomical features reportedly built into the tomb's ceiling demonstrate the emperor's desire to maintain connection with cosmic forces that governed earthly affairs during his lifetime. Ancient accounts describe artificial constellations created from precious stones and pearls, mechanical devices that move to recreate the rotation of celestial bodies, and chambers aligned with astronomical phenomena that would enable the emperor to continue his responsibilities for maintaining harmony between earthly government and divine principles that govern natural cycles and seasonal changes. The decision to keep the tomb sealed reflects both practical conservation concerns and deep respect for cultural beliefs about the sanctity of burial sites and the importance of honoring the dead through undisturbed rest. Modern archaeologists understand that opening the tomb would expose delicate organic materials to air and light that could cause irreversible damage, while also recognizing that Chinese cultural values emphasize respect for ancestors and the importance of preserving sacred spaces from inappropriate disturbance. The treasures reportedly buried with the emperor include not only precious metals and jewels, but also symbolic objects that represent different aspects of imperial authority and cultural achievement. Ancient accounts mention libraries of bamboo and silk books containing governmental records and philosophical texts, collections of musical instruments and artistic objects that reflect the cultural sophistication of the Qing court, and ceremonial regalia that would enable the emperor to maintain his imperial dignity throughout eternity. The palace structures described within the tomb complex mirror the architectural grandeur that characterized the emperor's earthly residences, with multiple chambers serving different functions in supporting his continuing imperial activities. Reception halls for conducting governmental business, private apartments for rest and contemplation, workshops for craftsmen who would continue creating beautiful objects, and gardens where the emperor could enjoy natural beauty all contribute to a complete living environment designed to support eternal imperial existence. The recent discoveries that have emerged from ground-penetrating radar surveys reveal additional chambers and structures that extend far beyond what ancient historians described, suggesting that the tomb complex may be even larger and more elaborate than historical accounts indicated. These findings include what appear to be stable areas for horses and chariots, additional burial chambers for court officials and servants, and vast storage areas that may contain the imperial archives and treasure collections that supported Qin administration. The environmental conditions within the sealed tomb probably provide ideal preservation for organic materials that would deteriorate rapidly if exposed to modern atmosphere. The stable temperature, humidity, and atmospheric composition that have been maintained for over 2 millennia may have preserved silk textiles, bamboo scrolls, wooden furniture, and other materials that could provide unprecedented insights into ancient Chinese craftsmanship, governmental practices, and daily life in the imperial court. The continuing reverence shown for the unopened tomb reflects Chinese cultural values that emphasize respect for ancestors and recognition that some mysteries are meant to remain undisturbed. The decision to study the site through non-invasive methods while maintaining the seal demonstrates wisdom that balances scholarly curiosity with cultural sensitivity, ensuring that future generations will inherit choices about whether and how to approach this sacred space. The influence of the tomb's mysterious status on Chinese culture and international imagination has created legends and stories that capture public fascination while inspiring artistic and literary works that explore themes of mortality, legacy, and the human desire to create lasting monuments. The unopened tomb serves as a symbol of ultimate mystery and unresolved questions that continue to intrigue people worldwide while representing Chinese civilization's earliest and most ambitious attempt to defeat death through architectural achievement. The technological challenges involved in potentially opening the tomb safely would require innovations in conservation science, environmental control, and archaeological technique that could preserve delicate materials while enabling scholarly investigation. Current research focuses on developing methods that could enable examination of tomb contents without exposing them to destructive environmental changes, though such techniques remain largely theoretical and untested on projects of this scale. The ethical considerations surrounding any future excavation include questions about cultural ownership, scientific necessity, and the rights of descendant communities to make decisions about their ancestral heritage. Contemporary archaeological practice emphasizes collaboration with local communities and respect for cultural values that may prioritize preservation over investigation, ensuring that scholarly interests do not override legitimate concerns about cultural sensitivity and appropriate treatment of sacred sites. The international significance of the unopened tomb extends beyond its archaeological value to represent universal human questions about mortality, legacy, and the desire to create lasting achievements that transcend individual lifetimes. The Emperor's vision of eternal empire speaks to fundamental human aspirations for meaning and continuation that resonate across cultural boundaries while demonstrating the power of human creativity to envision projects that outlast their creators. The comparison between the sealed tomb and the excavated Terracotta Army provides fascinating contrasts in approaches to archaeological investigation, with the Army representing successful integration of scholarly research with public education while the tomb demonstrates alternative approaches that prioritize preservation and cultural sensitivity over immediate scientific gratification. Both approaches contribute valuable perspectives to contemporary discussions about archaeological ethics and the responsibilities of researchers to respect cultural values while advancing human knowledge. The future of the unopened tomb will depend on evolving archaeological techniques, changing cultural attitudes, and technological innovations that may eventually enable investigation without destruction. For now, the tomb continues its patient wait beneath Mount Li, preserving mysteries that may someday be revealed while maintaining the dignity and reverence that have protected China's first emperor throughout his long journey into eternity. As we contemplate this greatest of archaeological mysteries, we witness the power of human vision to create monuments that challenge our understanding while inspiring reverence for the unknown. The sealed tomb of Qin Shi Huang reminds us that some achievements transcend immediate comprehension, requiring patience, respect, and wisdom to appreciate their significance while honoring the cultural values and spiritual beliefs that motivated their creation. The gentle slopes of Mount Li continue their eternal watch over secrets that connect ancient China to contemporary questions about death, legacy, and the human desire to create lasting meaning through architectural achievement. The unopened tomb stands as testament to the power of mystery to inspire wonder while demonstrating that the greatest treasures sometimes lie not in what we discover, but in our willingness to respect the boundaries that separate the sacred from the mundane, the known from the unknowable. As the gentle morning light illuminates the modern museum pavilions that now shelter China's ancient guardians, we step tonight into the remarkable story of how the Terracotta Army transformed from accidental discovery to global archaeological sensation, becoming one of the most celebrated cultural treasures of the modern world. Let your mind drift through the peaceful halls where millions of visitors have gazed in wonder at these silent warriors, witnessing the careful balance between scientific research and public appreciation that has made this ancient achievement accessible to contemporary audiences. Close your eyes and feel the quiet satisfaction of archaeological success, where patient scholarly work has unlocked secrets that enrich human understanding while preserving irreplaceable artifacts for future generations to study and admire. Picture yourself standing in the sleek, climate-controlled environment of Museum Pit 1, where the largest concentration of terracotta warriors creates one of the most spectacular archaeological displays ever constructed. The gentle lighting that illuminates row upon row of ancient soldiers reflects decades of careful planning to create viewing conditions that protect delicate ceramic surfaces while enabling visitors to appreciate the extraordinary detail and craftsmanship that characterizes each individual figure. This remarkable space represents the successful integration of cutting-edge conservation science with thoughtful public education, ensuring that Yang Zhifa's accidental discovery has become a source of wonder and learning for people from every corner of the world. The international recognition that followed the Terracotta Army's excavation marked a watershed moment in 20th century archaeology, as scholars and the public alike recognized that this underground treasure represented not just Chinese cultural achievement but a revelation that expanded global understanding of ancient human capabilities. The initial reports published in Chinese archaeological journals during the 1970s gradually reached international audiences, creating excitement that culminated in major exhibitions and scholarly conferences that established the Terracotta Army as one of archaeology's most significant discoveries. The collaborative approach that has characterized research at the site demonstrates how modern archaeological investigation can successfully balance scientific rigor with cultural sensitivity, ensuring that Chinese scholars maintain leadership roles while benefiting from international expertise in conservation, analysis, and interpretation. The joint projects involving institutions from China, Germany, Austria, and other countries have created models for international cooperation that respect national sovereignty while advancing scholarly understanding through shared knowledge and resources. Watch as the excavation techniques employed at the Terracotta Army site have established new standards for large-scale archaeological investigation, with innovations in documentation, conservation, and public access that influence archaeological practice worldwide. The decision to construct permanent protective buildings over excavation areas enables ongoing research while protecting exposed artifacts from environmental damage, creating laboratory conditions that support both scholarly investigation and public education within the same carefully controlled spaces. The conservation challenges presented by the Terracotta Army have pushed the boundaries of archaeological science, requiring innovative solutions to preserve ceramic materials that had remained stable for over 2 millennia in underground conditions but faced rapid deterioration when exposed to modern atmospheric conditions. The original bright colors that once decorated the warriors began fading within minutes of exposure to oxygen and light, forcing conservators to develop emergency stabilization techniques that could halt deterioration while enabling continued research and display. The development of specialized tools and techniques for cleaning, stabilizing, and repairing terracotta figures has created new conservation methodologies that benefit archaeological projects worldwide. The patient work required to remove centuries of accumulated soil and mineral deposits from ceramic surfaces, reconstruct damaged figures from thousands of fragments, and stabilize weakened clay bodies has advanced conservation science while establishing protocols that guide similar projects throughout the world. The digital documentation that accompanies every aspect of Terracotta Army research represents one of archaeology's most comprehensive recording projects, with high-resolution photography, three-dimensional scanning, and detailed databases that preserve precise information about each discovered artifact. This technological approach ensures that scholarly knowledge accumulated through decades of research will remain accessible to future researchers while enabling virtual study and exhibition opportunities that extend the site's educational impact far beyond its physical location. The museum complex that houses the Terracotta Army demonstrates innovative approaches to presenting archaeological discoveries to public audiences while maintaining the research environment necessary for ongoing scholarly investigation. The viewing platforms, interpretive displays, and educational facilities create meaningful experiences for visitors while protecting fragile artifacts from damage caused by excessive crowds or inappropriate handling. The balance between accessibility and preservation reflects careful planning that prioritizes both education and conservation, The economic impact of the Terracotta Army on the region surrounding Lebanon has transformed this ancient cultural center into a major international destination, generating revenue that supports local communities while funding continued research and conservation efforts. The tourism infrastructure developed around the site creates employment opportunities while generating resources that ensure long-term protection and study of this irreplaceable cultural heritage. This economic success demonstrates how archaeological treasures can provide sustainable benefits to contemporary communities while preserving ancient achievements. The educational programs associated with the Terracotta Army reach audiences ranging from elementary school children to advanced university researchers, with curricula that integrate historical knowledge, archaeological methodology, and cultural appreciation into comprehensive learning experiences. The site serves as a living laboratory where students can observe ongoing research while developing understanding of ancient Chinese civilization and modern conservation science. These educational functions ensure that the Terracotta Army continues inspiring new generations of scholars and cultural enthusiasts. The traveling exhibitions that have brought terracotta warriors to museums worldwide demonstrate how careful planning and advanced conservation techniques can enable international sharing of archaeological treasures while maintaining security and preservation standards. The logistics involved in safely transporting ancient ceramic figures across continents, creating appropriate display environments in foreign museums, and coordinating international loans require expertise that benefits the global museum community while introducing Chinese cultural achievements to diverse international audiences. The research methodologies developed through Terracotta Army studies have influenced archaeological practice far beyond China, with techniques for large-scale excavation, ceramic conservation, and public engagement that have been adapted for projects throughout the world. The interdisciplinary approach that combines traditional archaeological methods with advanced scientific analysis, computer modeling, and digital documentation creates comprehensive research programs that extract maximum information from archaeological evidence while preserving it for future study. The ongoing discoveries that continue emerging from unexcavated portions of the tomb complex ensure that the Terracotta Army will remain an active research site for decades to come, with ground-penetrating radar revealing additional chambers and artifact concentrations that promise new insights into ancient Chinese civilization. The careful pace of excavation reflects lessons learned from early investigations, prioritizing preservation and thorough documentation over rapid discovery while maintaining public interest through regular revelations of new findings. The influence of Terracotta Army research on Chinese archaeology has elevated standards and expectations throughout the country's archaeological community, demonstrating how international collaboration and advanced conservation techniques can enhance understanding of cultural heritage while creating opportunities for scholarly exchange. The success of this project has encouraged similar investments in archaeological research and museum development throughout China, benefiting numerous sites and cultural institutions. The international scholarly conferences and publications that regularly feature Terracotta Army research have created ongoing dialogues between Chinese and foreign archaeologists, fostering relationships that benefit both academic understanding and cultural diplomacy. The site serves as a meeting ground where scholars from different countries can collaborate on research projects while developing mutual appreciation for diverse archaeological traditions and methodologies. The technological innovations pioneered at the Terracotta Army site include advances in remote sensing, environmental monitoring, and digital preservation that benefit archaeological projects worldwide. The integration of cutting-edge scientific instruments with traditional archaeological methods creates comprehensive approaches to site investigation that maximize scholarly understanding while minimizing damage to irreplaceable cultural materials. These technical advances contribute to global archaeological knowledge while demonstrating Chinese expertise in heritage preservation. The cultural diplomacy functions served by the Terracotta Army extend far beyond archaeology to influence international relationships and cross-cultural understanding. The universal appeal of these ancient warriors creates opportunities for cultural exchange that transcend political boundaries while demonstrating the shared human heritage that connects all civilizations across time and space. The site serves as a bridge between ancient achievements and contemporary appreciation, fostering international cooperation and mutual respect. The future research priorities at the Terracotta Army site focus on questions that will illuminate broader patterns of ancient Chinese civilization while developing new conservation techniques and public engagement strategies. The integration of emerging technologies with traditional archaeological methods promises to yield insights that will continue expanding understanding of this remarkable achievement while establishing models for heritage preservation that benefit archaeological sites worldwide. As we contemplate the transformation of Yang Zhifa's accidental discovery into one of the world's most celebrated archaeological treasures, we witness the power of careful scholarship, international cooperation, and thoughtful public engagement to transform ancient achievements into contemporary sources of wonder and learning. The Terracotta Army demonstrates how archaeological investigation can successfully balance scientific rigor with cultural sensitivity while creating educational opportunities that inspire appreciation for human creativity and cultural achievement. The gentle atmosphere that pervades the museum halls today reflects the peaceful intent behind both ancient creation and modern preservation, where the patient work of craftsmen separated by over 2 millennia has been united through archaeological investigation that honors both scholarly curiosity and cultural reverence. The Terracotta Army continues serving as a bridge between past and present, demonstrating that the highest human achievements transcend individual lifetimes to inspire continuing wonder and appreciation across generations. As the gentle twilight settles over the ancient burial grounds near Mount Lee, we arrive tonight at one of history's most poignant mysteries: the gradual abandonment and eventual forgetting of China's magnificent Terracotta Army, whose silent guardians would remain hidden beneath accumulating earth for over 2 millennia until their accidental rediscovery in 1974. Let your mind drift through the turbulent years following Emperor Qin Shi Huang's death in 210 BCE. When political upheaval and dynastic collapse transformed this carefully planned eternal resting place from active imperial necropolis into forgotten ruins. Close your eyes and feel the quiet passage of time as these ceramic warriors slipped from memory into patient obscurity, their vigil continuing in darkness while empires rose and fell above their buried chambers. Picture yourself standing among the completed warrior pits in the year 210 BCE, as news arrives that the great emperor has died during an inspection tour of his vast realm, leaving behind ambitious construction projects that had consumed decades of planning and the labor of over 700,000 workers. The immediate aftermath of his death reveals the fragility of imperial authority when concentrated in a single ruler, as court intrigue, succession disputes, and administrative chaos threatened to unravel the unified empire that had taken a lifetime to create and organize. The emperor's second son, Hu-hai, ascends to the throne through political manipulation and alleged forgery of his father's final wishes, immediately facing challenges that would test the durability of Qin institutions and the loyalty of subjects who had served his more capable predecessor. The new emperor, often regarded as one of China's least effective rulers, proves unable to maintain the administrative competence and strategic vision that had characterized his father's reign, leading to popular unrest and military rebellions that would ultimately destroy the dynasty within 3 years of its founder's death. Watch as the vast construction projects at the imperial necropolis gradually slow and eventually cease, as resources are diverted from funeral preparations to more immediate concerns of maintaining political control and suppressing the rebellions that spread throughout the empire. The skilled craftsmen, administrative supervisors, and military guards who had devoted their careers to completing the emperor's eternal resting place find themselves reassigned to urgent defensive preparations as the dynasty they had served begins its rapid collapse. The violent end of the Qin dynasty brings devastating consequences for the carefully planned necropolis, as archaeological evidence reveals extensive damage to the warrior pits from fires and deliberate destruction that occurred during the chaotic final years of imperial rule. The wooden support beams and roofing systems that had protected the ceramic warriors from soil pressure and moisture begin to fail, either from deliberate arson or accidental fires that spread through the underground chambers, causing structural collapses that crushed many figures beneath tons of falling debris. The rebel forces led by Xiong Yu, the infamous warlord who played a crucial role in overthrowing Qin rule, reportedly reached the necropolis and systematically looted the bronze weapons that had equipped the terracotta soldiers for their eternal military service. Historical accounts describe organized plundering that stripped the warriors of their functional armaments, swords, crossbows, spears, and halberds that represented some of the finest metallurgical work of the ancient world, while deliberately destroying ceramic figures in acts of symbolic revenge against the deceased emperor and everything he represented. The fires that swept through the warrior pits, whether set deliberately by vengeful rebels or ignited accidentally during the looting process, created the charred wooden remains that modern archaeologists have discovered throughout the excavated chambers. These blazes weakened the structural supports that held up wooden ceilings, causing catastrophic collapses that entombed thousands of warriors beneath rubble and debris, ironically protecting them from further damage while ensuring their disappearance from human knowledge and memory. Yet the destruction was not complete. as the massive scale of the necropolis and the solid construction of many chambers enabled large portions of the complex to survive the political turmoil largely intact. The central tomb mound, with its elaborate defensive systems and deep underground construction, remained sealed and undisturbed despite reported attempts by rebel forces to breach its protective barriers and plunder the treasures believed to lie within the emperor's burial chamber. The psychological factors that contributed to the necropolis's abandonment reflect broader changes in Chinese political culture and religious beliefs that accompanied the transition from Qin authoritarianism to Han administrative practices. The new dynasty, while adopting many Qin governmental innovations, deliberately distanced itself from the harsh policies and grandiose projects that had characterized the first emperor's reign, preferring more modest approaches to imperial commemoration that emphasized moral example over monumental architecture. The gradual accumulation of soil and debris over the abandoned warrior pits created the natural preservation conditions that protected the ceramic figures from weathering and human interference for the next 22 centuries. The reddish, sandy soil that characterizes this region of Shaanxi province provided ideal environmental conditions for ceramic preservation, maintaining stable temperatures and moisture levels that prevented the deterioration that would have occurred if the warriors had remained exposed to atmospheric conditions. The collective amnesia that erased the Terracotta Army from Chinese historical memory represents one of the most remarkable aspects of their disappearance, as even detailed historical chronicles compiled by later dynasties contain no mention of the underground military formations that had required such enormous investments of imperial resources and artistic talent. This historical silence suggests that the site's abandonment was so complete and traumatic that surviving witnesses chose not to record or transmit knowledge about its existence to subsequent generations. The folk traditions that developed in the villages surrounding Mount Li preserved vague memories of clay people and strange fragments occasionally uncovered during agricultural work. But these oral accounts lacked the specific knowledge necessary to identify the true nature and significance of what lay buried beneath their fields. The transformation of historical fact into folk legend demonstrates how collective memory can preserve traces of important events while losing the contextual information necessary for accurate interpretation and understanding. The environmental changes that occurred over 2 millennia of abandonment included the natural processes of soil accumulation, vegetation growth, and water flow patterns that gradually obscured surface evidence of the necropolis while inadvertently protecting its underground components. The artificial mound that marked the emperor's tomb became integrated into the natural landscape, appearing to casual observers as simply another hill rather than a man-made monument covering elaborate burial chambers. The agricultural use of land above the buried warrior pits demonstrates how human communities can unknowingly coexist with major archaeological sites for centuries without recognizing their significance. Generations of farming families cultivated crops and built villages directly above the ceramic armies, occasionally encountering pottery fragments that they dismissed as unremarkable debris from previous settlements rather than components of one of humanity's greatest artistic achievements. The rediscovery process that began with Yang Zhifa's well digging in 1974 reveals how accidental encounters with archaeological evidence can suddenly illuminate historical mysteries that had remained hidden for millennia. The farmer's willingness to report his unusual finds to local authorities, rather than simply discarding them as worthless pottery, demonstrates the importance of public awareness and governmental responsiveness in protecting cultural heritage that emerges unexpectedly from routine activities. The theories proposed by modern scholars to explain the completeness of the historical forgetting include deliberate suppression by succeeding dynasties who viewed the first emperor's projects as negative. Examples of imperial excess, natural disasters that disrupted local communities and their collective memories, and the gradual transformation of political and religious values that made earlier funerary practices seem inappropriate or irrelevant to later generations. The parallels between the Terracotta Army's abandonment and similar archaeological mysteries worldwide suggest that the combination of political upheaval, cultural change, and natural preservation can create conditions where major human achievements disappear from active knowledge while remaining physically intact for eventual rediscovery. The survival of these ceramic warriors demonstrates the paradoxical relationship between historical memory and physical preservation, showing how forgetting can sometimes serve conservation better than continuous awareness and maintenance. The peaceful resolution of the abandonment mystery through modern archaeological investigation provides a satisfying conclusion to over 2,000 years of unintended concealment, as scientific methods enable contemporary researchers to reconstruct the historical circumstances that led to the site's disappearance while ensuring its preservation for future study and appreciation. The careful excavation techniques that protect fragile ceramic surfaces while revealing their original arrangements create opportunities for millions of modern visitors to experience something approximating the visual impact intended by ancient craftsmen. The ongoing conservation challenges that face the excavated portions of the Terracotta Army reflect contemporary understanding that abandonment and burial provided better long-term preservation than the current exposure to atmospheric conditions, tourism impacts, and environmental pollutants that threaten the stability of ceramic surfaces and structural integrity. Modern museum techniques attempt to recreate the protective conditions that characterize the underground environment while enabling public access and scholarly investigation as we contemplate this great abandonment that preserved one of humanity's most remarkable artistic achievements through benign neglect and natural protection. We witness the complex relationships between political power, cultural memory, and archaeological preservation that determine which aspects of human heritage survive for future generations to discover and appreciate. The Terracotta Army's disappearance and rediscovery remind us that the most important cultural treasures sometimes require periods of obscurity and protection from human interference to maintain their integrity across vast expanses of time. The gentle hills of ancient China continue to harbor secrets that demonstrate both the fragility and durability of human achievements, showing how political chaos can simultaneously threaten and preserve cultural heritage through the unpredictable interactions between human intentions and natural processes that govern the long-term survival of artistic and architectural monuments. As the gentle evening stars begin to shimmer over the ancient necropolis near Lebanon, we arrive at the peaceful conclusion of our journey through the remarkable world of China's Terracotta Army, a legacy that continues to unfold new secrets while inspiring millions of visitors to contemplate the enduring power of human creativity, imperial vision, and artistic dedication. Let your mind drift through the quiet galleries where these silent guardians now stand in climate-controlled dignity, their patient vigil transformed from protecting an emperor's afterlife to educating and inspiring contemporary humanity about the extraordinary achievements possible when skilled craftsmen unite around shared purposes. Close your eyes and feel the profound continuity that connects ancient dreams of immortality to modern appreciation for cultural heritage, as we explore how these ceramic warriors have become eternal ambassadors for the artistic genius and spiritual vision of their creators. Picture yourself walking through the vast museum of the Terracotta Warriors in the early morning hours, when soft lighting illuminates row upon row of restored figures whose individual faces seem to follow your movement with expressions that suggest they possess secret knowledge accumulated through over 2 millennia of patient observation. These silent witnesses to the rise and fall of dynasties have become more than archaeological artifacts. They serve as bridges between ancient and contemporary worlds, demonstrating how artistic vision and technical mastery can create achievements that transcend their original historical context to speak directly to universal human experiences. The ongoing excavation and research at the Terracotta Army site continues to yield discoveries that refine and expand the influence of the Terracotta Army on contemporary Chinese national identity. Reflects the power of archaeological discoveries to shape how modern societies understand their cultural heritage and historical significance. These ancient warriors have become symbols of China's long tradition of artistic excellence, technological innovation, and cultural continuity that connects contemporary achievements to thousands of years of accumulated wisdom and creative expression. Their international recognition has enhanced China's cultural diplomacy while fostering appreciation for Chinese civilization among global audiences. The tourism industry that has developed around the Terracotta Army demonstrates how archaeological sites can generate sustainable economic benefits for local communities while funding continued research and conservation efforts. The millions of annual visitors who come to Lebanon to experience these remarkable artifacts create employment opportunities and generate revenue that supports both archaeological activities and community development, showing how cultural heritage can serve contemporary needs while preserving ancient achievements. The artistic influence of the Terracotta Army on contemporary creators has inspired painters, sculptors, photographers, and digital artists who find in these ancient figures sources of inspiration for exploring themes of individuality, collective identity, mortality, and the relationship between art and power. Major museums worldwide have featured exhibitions that place terracotta warriors in dialogue with contemporary artworks, creating conversations across time and culture that illuminate both ancient achievements and modern creative responses. The technological innovations developed for studying the Terracotta Army continue to advance archaeological practice in ways that benefit research projects worldwide. Ground-penetrating radar, microchemical analysis, advanced photogrammetry, and computer-assisted reconstruction techniques pioneered at the site have become standard tools for archaeological investigation while pushing the boundaries of what scientific methods can reveal about ancient human achievements and cultural practices. The mysteries that remain unsolved about the Terracotta Army ensure that this site will continue generating new research questions and discoveries for decades to come. The unopened tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, with its reported rivers of mercury and mechanical astronomical devices, represents perhaps the greatest archaeological puzzle of all time, while the continuing excavation of workshop areas, residential quarters, and additional burial chambers promises to reveal new aspects of ancient Chinese imperial culture and artistic production. The international collaborations that characterize modern Terracotta Army research demonstrate how archaeological investigation can foster cross-cultural understanding and scientific cooperation that transcends political boundaries while advancing human knowledge. Joint projects involving Chinese, German, British, and American institutions have created models for international partnership that respect national sovereignty while enabling shared expertise and resources to tackle complex research challenges. The philosophical questions raised by the Terracotta Army about the relationship between art, power, and immortality continue to engage scholars in fields ranging from archaeology to political science to religious studies. The emperor's vision of recreating his earthly realm in clay speaks to universal human concerns about legacy, memory, and the desire to transcend mortality through lasting achievements that preserve individual identity and cultural values across generations. The conservation ethics that guide current preservation efforts reflect evolving understanding of responsibilities to both ancient creators and future generations who will inherit decisions made today about how to study, preserve, and interpret these irreplaceable cultural treasures. The balance between scientific investigation and respectful preservation requires ongoing dialogue between researchers, government officials, and community representatives who share responsibility for protecting this World Heritage Site. The global recognition of the Terracotta Army as a UNESCO World Heritage Site ensures international protection and support for continued research while establishing standards for conservation and public access that serve as models for archaeological sites worldwide. This designation reflects acknowledgement that some human achievements transcend national boundaries to become part of shared global heritage that benefits all humanity through the insights they provide into our common past and creative potential. The future of Terracotta Army research will likely involve even more sophisticated technologies that can reveal secrets currently hidden from human perception. Advanced imaging techniques that can see through solid clay to detect internal structures, chemical analysis that can identify individual craftsmen through trace elements in their work, and artificial intelligence systems that can identify patterns and connections across thousands of individual figures that exceed human analytical capabilities. As we conclude our peaceful journey through the world of China's Terracotta Army, we carry with us not just knowledge of a remarkable archaeological discovery but appreciation for the timeless human qualities that motivated its creation. The desire to create beauty that endures, to honor those who shape our communities, and to leave legacies that connect us across the vast expanses of time to both our ancestors and our descendants. The gentle presence of these eternal guardians continues to remind us that the highest human achievements often emerge from patient collaboration, skilled craftsmanship, and shared vision that transcends individual limitations to create something magnificent and enduring. Their silent ranks speak across millennia to contemporary hearts, demonstrating that artistic dedication and spiritual purpose can produce monuments that outlast empires while inspiring wonder and reverence in all who encounter their timeless beauty. The peaceful halls where these warriors now stand guard over human memory rather than imperial tombs represent the transformation of ancient dreams into contemporary inspiration, where the protective spirit that originally motivated their creation continues through their role as guardians of cultural heritage and artistic achievement that enriches our understanding of human potential and creative possibility.